Okay.
You want to start it off? Okay. How's the summer been going? Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Definitely some crazy energies.
Yeah. This summer was actually like, I've been calling it like the summer of spaciousness. I feel like it sounds nice. It sounds like, ooh, delicious. Like you have space. But it's like when you're actually letting go of things, like making the space, it's so confronting. Like that's been my word, is it's so confrontational. And people, especially in spiritual community, are like, confront your feelings, like, you know, speak your mind, use your voice, but they never actually talk about how fucking scary that is and how fucking difficult it is afterwards.
Right.
Because it's like you just threw up.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, I have to clean up that mess now. I have to. And it's really just honoring yourself, not even like worrying about, let's say, other people's judgment of that mess. It's like, how am I going to handle this? Like, am I going to break down and cry? Am I just going to clean it up and like pretend it never happened? Or am I going to like see with how I'm feeling every step of the way? Every time I'm uncomfortable, every time I'm judging myself, am I going to come back to truth and center of, I know who I am in my power.
Right. That's why it's avoided so much, though. You know?
Yeah.
We don't want to confront all that stuff and then have to clean it up and deal with it. Yeah.
Because it is messy. But I felt like harmony is actually not possible without conflict. That's what I've been coming to. That's been the download.
Getting through the conflict first and then harmony?
Yeah, the harmony and the peace, whatever you're like seeking.
Or is it just that harmony can't exist at all because it needs a duality?
I think that too, the equal and opposing force, right? Like it can't
exist.
It can't exist without some kind of like breakthrough of something else. So yeah, conflict, confrontation, but being in power and empowered by all of it, I think has been a lesson this summer. So I've been making space and taking up a lot of space, letting myself like claim space and be like, watch out, world.
Right. Yeah.
But also just honoring like, the mess that comes with it.
Yeah. Taking that space. Yeah, this has been, for me, it's been still, I'm in that unknown. It's like I'm turning into this version of me that I don't know who I am right now, and I don't know who I'm turning into. And it's so interesting, like feeling these changes moment by moment. And I feel like I've never been as aware as I am now. So I don't know if a lot of people can relate to just that statement, like in feeling yourself change, like you feel yourself going through this metamorphosis, but you don't know what's happening and what's next.
Yeah.
And
letting yourself be in like that like awkward stage.
I
feel like that's what I've been in for a while now, is like, you know, like I've ever seen a giraffe get born with those legs comes out and it's like and you're like, whoa, you're so weird and awkward, but like it does get its footing. So I'm like trusting that my legs are gonna know what to do, like that my body's gonna know how to position for like, you're ready now, like now you're aligned. But I've been welcoming in synchronicity. I think that's been really cool, like even in that like void, welcoming in the synchronicity for life to just show you the next step, like without worrying, knowing it's going to be there, hoping.
But we're always supported. I mean, we grew all through, you know, since birth up until, you know, where we are now. And that was all, I think about that sometimes, about our awareness and our manifesting as we are an infant, as a child, especially like as an infant, you know, things are just coming to us. We're just naturally in that receiving mode, not doing anything. And like, then we just transition. Then we transition into adulthood, and then it's like everything's just a free for all. Now we just have to like figure it out, how to get receiving again.
And be held. I feel like I've been with that, like figuring out, like maybe nobody else can really hold all of it. And like, I think that's with making space and kind of like doing, you know, some reparations in relationships, but also cutting cords in certain relationships and figuring out like, who can hold this next version of me? Like who's willing to stay through the muck and the mess? and being okay with whatever exits your life is not meant to be for this next phase, or for you to be in that like growing, like you said, receiving. They're not the person for that.
Right.
Maybe they'll come in at another time when it's easier.
Right.
So yeah, just honoring like maybe nobody else can hold that. Maybe we're really supposed to just hold ourselves during that time, and just being open to community maybe and friendships and that, but also knowing like at the true core we have to hold that for ourselves.
Yeah.
And not to ever be like dependent, you know, or codependent on anything.
Yeah, that's true.
That's been something that's been hard for me. Is like realizing like, whoa, no, like this isn't anybody else's responsibility. Like I gotta hold me.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's been like this change, this metamorphosis that's taking place. And then also these timeline shifts are crazy, girl. I mean, I can't even tell you. I mean, when I communicated with you last week, I was somewhere totally different than we are today. I had some thoughts of some things that I even wanted to talk about, and I can't even talk about them anymore because I'm not even on that timeline. So what's been your experience lately with any like rapid, for me, it's like so abrupt.
Yeah. So funny, actually, this weekend I was just on a retreat that my friend calls the Unity Retreat.
Oh, that's nice.
People come from all over the East Coast to, most of them practitioners themselves. So it's like, he says, where healers can heal. And I experienced, and I think a lot of people experience that timeline shift, but I received a session from my teacher's teacher. And he wanted to integrate some things in my body. And the timeline shift after like that session, or that, like I called it like that 12 hours, because right, like I went to sleep afterwards and had so many downloads too. And then like the shadow work upon waking up in like a new template is what I was calling it. Because like literally my body held differently. Like I woke up with no pain, but actually had to figure out like, well, how do I hold this body that doesn't have pain? How do I, you know, even brush my hair that feels so, like everything felt so different from just 12 hours before. And had to like not freak myself out, like, but was feeling at times freaked out by how different I literally felt. Like my body felt, like my emotional capacity was different. My, you know, spiritual downloads, my ability to channel was different. Like I didn't have to, I don't know, I felt like I didn't have to flex. It was just natural. Like it just came in, and I just opened deeper and like got softer into it. So with a timeline shift, I've only ever experienced it as like astral, maybe some emotional, mental stuff too. But for me, this was a physical one, and I'm still tripped out by it. Okay. I'm still like not processed like what happened.
Did you kind of like integrate more towards back the version of you that was, or is it still this newer version?
I think this is a totally new version where I actually had to remind myself, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter. Because my mom was on the trip, my husband, and my son.
Yeah.
And I literally had to be like, holy shit, I have a family. Holy shit, I'm in a physical body. Like just like kept, oh my God.
You were just out there?
I was just so out there that I felt like when I came back, it was like just different. Yeah. Really different to be like, I have hands. What do I do with them?
Oh, I didn't know that. Practitioner, yes.
So this is Sifu Gary McCabe. And he's out of New Jersey. And he's been practicing Chinese medicine and Qigong for many, many years. I would say decades probably. And worked with people from all over the world to receive different teachings as well. So some of the stuff he was doing with me was from a Cherokee tribe that he worked closely with. But just no words. Like after he was just like, "Are you okay? I need to see that you can stand." Oh my God. And just sat with me for like an hour, and I was like, I don't know how to place like feet, ankles, knees. Like I couldn't. My mind couldn't wrap that around yet. But again, that next morning was just wild to be like, I'm breathing different. I'm like just looking at myself differently for the first time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Which I've looked at myself so many times.
Right, yeah. And where was this located?
This was in the Catskills.
Okay. How far is that?
I don't know. I feel like it was like 2.5 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm like traffic, Long Island. But once you got like to those mountains, it was just a portal, like a vortex area.
I feel like when you travel anywhere, I mean, it really could be anywhere that isn't within your normal geographic pattern.
Yes.
You're shifting into a different timeline, different frequency, because that area holds different frequencies. And then you're entering into it with your frequency. And so that's then shifting you into a different timeline. So even if it isn't that far, but especially in places that are like more, you know, absorbed in nature and everything, for sure.
Yeah, they had like old growth forests on the land too. You could just see these, like, talk to the trees and understand like how much wisdom they held.
Yeah.
So I think just even being in that space too. But you're going to Sedona soon.
I am. I'm going to Sedona next week. I am excited. I'm going to see Bashar. I'm excited to see him and just kind of like be in that, you know, audience with everyone, like like-minded people, get some good upgrades, and also the vortexes over there. But for me, traveling is difficult sometimes energetically. Yeah, I definitely, whenever I travel, I know there's a timeline shift coming, and I always feel different. Yeah.
Well, you're also taking a plane too, right?
Yeah, that gets me.
Yeah, that gets me. I don't
think we're supposed to fly. Like, you know, the beings that we are, we're not made to fly.
Like being up in that pressure.
Being up in that pressure and just like going at that speed. Like, I don't think it's for our physical body. I think something definitely happens to us when we do fly.
Yeah. Like that jet lag even afterwards.
Yeah.
Like our bodies are so exhausted, right? Interesting. Yeah, I feel like, do you ever experience like an ego death before you're about to do something really powerful? That's what I feel like.
I'm just dying all the time. I mean, but yeah. That's what you feel like now?
I feel like before this trip, at least, I had like a whole ego death where like things were coming up in my life that really led me to look at like, where am I just attaching so hard? Like, and then it's interesting, I ended up having that really powerful moment of like detaching from my body and then reattaching and feeling like a new person. So I'm wondering if that's what you're experiencing.
I don't know right now. Right now? I don't know. I have so many things. I'm also, I got these health issues that have been going on. And so I'm seeing a healer there as well, which I'm excited. And he's supposed to be like, people have said like modern day Jesus. People go to him and they come out feeling totally healed. And I think he does some chiropractics and kinesiology and some other things. Yeah. And he, you know, finds trapped emotions and, you know, so I'll see how that goes. But yeah, I've just been going through it. And of course, physical is still connected to the energetics of things. And one question, if I do get to ask Bashar, was going to be that I kind of feel disconnected from, and we've spoken about this before, from like my inspiration, from like my guidance system, but I don't know if it's from what my physical body is going through, because I'm kind of like numb to certain things right now, but that's still connected to emotions and other underlying things. You know, the physical manifests later.
Yes, it's one of the last things to manifest.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happened to the inspiration that I was like waking up every day on like 100, you know, and then that became the baseline, right? I don't know how to word this that it's short enough for, you know, to ask him.
Well, also, I feel like you probably experienced a burnout at some point. Yeah. Like you were on overdrive for years, actually. That, you know, everybody needs that period of rest and like recovery almost. And this might be that. Unfortunately, like if we're not resting or recovering on those like mental, emotional, spiritual levels, we do usually have that physical manifestation because it forces us to pause. It's like we hit a wall and we're like, oh shit, I have a body that needs my attention. Right. You know? Right. But yeah, how to word that in a shorter way.
Yeah, I got to think about it. What question would you ask him?
So he channels like everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What would I ask that I guess I can't already ask in my own wisdom? I think that's probably the hardest part. And maybe that would be something I would ask, like, what is the difference between him channeling and just any person channeling their own intuition that's connected to themselves?
Yeah.
Like, what is different? Like, what's, because obviously there's fame involved, right? There's obviously popularity, more attention. Like, does that heighten the experience? Does it take away from that? That's I've never shared things that I've done channeling, and maybe wouldn't feel comfortable just yet doing. So I guess my thing would be like, yeah, how do you balance confidence and ego, and how do you channel purely without having that ego?
Right.
You know,
that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little shadow work.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mean to do that though, but it just like came out that way. But I guess, yeah, whenever I see people just in general that are doing healing work on a very large scale with a lot of people, they fill up rooms of thousands. My question always is like, well, what's the difference? And is it still authentic? You know?
Yeah.
And I guess that's because in past I've seen and been around people that like I've put on a pedestal, and I've met them and I've been like, ooh, your energy's slimy.
Wow.
Like, ew. Like, but like I paid to be there. I was excited, felt the call, like whatever it was, took the workshop, whatever it is. And then I get in a room with them and I'm like, no. Like, I'm glad I pursued seeing them because no.
Right.
You know, but yeah, that's just always been something I've been curious about when people get that like fame.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm
sure definitely the energetics is connected because you have all these point of focuses towards you also. And that's, I mean, we can go into a whole nother segment with that, with like concerts and music and, you know, but there's power in that, you know, being on stage and having all this focus towards, and who knows?
Right, because everybody's intention is for you to channel. Your intention is to channel. Now it's like, it probably does amplify it a lot. I was actually mic'd up this weekend for the first time. I mean, I used a mic last year, but never used it again after that. This year I sang. Oh. And it was the first time ever singing on a microphone for a group of people. Yeah. And I did kind of feel that, like people were expecting something of me. And as soon as I focused on that, like my voice cracked. Or like I feel like, oh my God, no. Right. But as soon as I closed and like channeled inwards.
Yeah. There's probably some balance between the two, like connecting with the energy.
But not being also like aware of that connection almost. Like you have to like tune it out, like know it's there, but like tune it out and focus on like what's there.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Well, I know I'm going to be in a different energy when I return. So that's why I wanted to film prior.
Yeah.
Yeah, so who knows what version of me is coming back.
Yeah. That's exciting though.
Yeah. And you want to be doing some more channeling lately, you were saying?
I do, yeah. I want to be teaching people, I guess, how to channel in themselves through movement, through breath, and through like reaching that ecstatic, hypnotic state.
I like that.
And just, that's like the essence of how I got into shamanism, was understanding my ability to channel, seeing people that had like a form to do it, calling in spirit, having it be a ceremony, having it be in reverence to what elements you're working with, or, you know, all the things. And so channeling and being in trance is something that has been so profound for me in my life. I want other people to be able to access that in not such a woo-woo way. Yeah. Like, I feel like I do so many things that are so woo-woo, like movement and dance, and the ritual of that is very common. We do it at weddings. We do it at celebration, you know, any kind of celebratory event. So it takes away that like super woo-ness, and I feel like brings it back to just like body medicine.
It's so powerful.
Inner alchemy. Yeah.
Dance.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people actually only dance by themselves, or don't let themselves dance. Right. That's been the reflections of guiding movement for others in the past years. Like, wow, I never moved my body like that. Or, wow, I would never do that in a room full of people. Yeah. That would only be something I did in the mirror, you know. Or while they're doing it, feeling a lot of frustration. Because when you're mindfully moving, you're more aware of what's physically there, and then also like what's subconsciously there. So you want to just run, like stop if dancing is a thing, then I'll just stop dancing. But then it continues because you're opening that portal to learn more about yourself.
Yeah, it's very freeing. It is.
Yeah, it's liberating, and I think it's a huge proponent for spiritual development and just personal development too.
Especially if you don't want to dance, then you know that's a block of something.
Yes. And like, then, why don't you even want to move?
Right. And it's something that feels good, right? And that you want to feel good in doing. So why do you not want to feel good? You know? So those are blocks to get through.
Yeah.
But it's all always around, judgments and everything. I remember when I was younger, I was, just like learning to dance when I was like a teen or something, and going to like United Skates. I don't know if you ever.
We had something similar.
Okay. Skates. And that was like my first like intro to dancing. It would be like on the weekend or Friday night or something. And you're afraid to dance because you're afraid of being judged. And am I doing this right? And am I doing it wrong? But it's just about just being free, just going with it,
and seeing how like funky you can get. I feel like that's
where the trance dancing is good.
What it is. You just let it out and you shake and you move and you vibrate, and then like it should be an experience where your eyes are closed. If you want to open your eyes and you see somebody else being like just as expansive, it actually inspires you to be. Gives you permission. You're like, okay, well, I'm not the weirdest one in the room.
Right.
And then you let it out, and then somebody else sees you guys. It's like, it's infectious in a really positive way.
Yeah. So would you say this is the same as ecstatic dancing?
I would say it's a blend of ecstatic, somatic, and then also, the shamanic element of like, we are actually communing with our inner spirit. Spirit guides are usually called into the space. So we're dancing with and being conscious of other energies beyond ourselves. And people can channel that. So we had some people, when I introduced it this weekend, who were channeling like their higher self. Some that were channeling their inner child. Some that were channeling spirit guides and beings that they've met in whatever journeys they've had in life. So it's, I think, a blend of all of that. And it's, you're able to get into that hypnotic state where channeling can happen.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then the somatic, just for people that don't know, what's the difference with that, being...
Yeah, so somatic is just being very aware of all your sensory perceptions. So it's being aware that you're in a body, being and holding that, I think, as sacred, too. So just being connected, super connected, and being able to move in ways that do open certain meridians, certain body areas on a physical and psychological level.
Yeah. Amazing. I look forward to doing that. We're going to do that here, right?
I would love to. I saw you had the headphones for the meditations. I was thinking like silent disco type.
We've done that.
Because then people can really have, what I found is people want to kind of have their own
bubble.
Yeah, especially when they're channeling. Like I felt many times I'd get in it and then like kind of remember like the music would change or something. I'd want to be on the mic, and I'm like, I have to bring myself back to do that. So with the headphones, people can just be immersed for an hour, and then we talk at the end. Just share.
I like that.
Something like that. Yeah,
we can put that on for October. Yeah,
spooky season, getting deep in the shadows. I love that.
Yeah, that's we're entering fall right now, so we're shifting into that timeline, that energy.
Yeah, death, really. Shifting into the death of what was.
Going into death right now.
It's super death energy. Yeah. Like I feel like when the fall comes, it's literally the falling away of all things that are like false in our life.
So I think about this and like, what are they doing in California? Like, is it the same energy?
I think they struggle because they don't see it reflected in nature.
So, like, what does that feel like, right, when it's not reflected in nature? Is it as prevalent, the energy field, or
like maybe they get stagnant in that? I've wondered that a lot about places in the world that don't see that actual change, because we do still live by those 4 seasons. They're within our bodies too, like chemically, So it's interesting to see that people that don't have that outward expression, they do, I think, still experience it internally, but aren't so aware. So yeah, I'm thankful we live in an area we get to experience the 4.
Yeah.
And sometimes even the 5th, like right now we're in that like late summer.
5th? What's the 5th?
The 5th in Chinese medicine is like late summer. I don't know if it's the 5th, the
Indian
number 5.
summer?
Similar, it's like, yeah, that liminal. They call it the liminal summer.
Okay.
The liminal season, sorry. Because it's late summer and you're in between like just even the last few days. Like the weather we've had and the feelings we're having of like, okay, summer's over. Like, you know, but it's not, and it's not yet fall. So you're in that like void space between seasons. But I think, yeah, when we get to experience the fall, we get to see things are shedding. They're beautiful, gorgeous. They're showing their like true essence of how they can change right before they shed. And then you get to like be more reflective and cocoon through the winter and just be in that energy of death in a positive way. Death can also be really
because there's
necessary.
Also birth after death, right?
The spring comes and you're reborn.
Yeah, I look forward to the hibernating and just being in that vibe. And I enjoy summer, but it's nice to go into rest. Yeah. I noticed too, for me in my experience, I have certain people in my life that come around during different seasons. And it's the same seasons usually. It's like sometimes they pop up, and then they fade, and then they pop back up around the same time. And it's so funny. Like, what is that?
Because they're so attuned to that season, you know, themselves probably. Yeah, I felt the summer, I let myself like really soak up the sun and like really be in the light this summer, that now I'm like, I am ready to be more cozy, wrapped in a blanket, put the fire on, you know.
Yeah.
Be in that vibe.
Yeah. I lost it. I have this agita, you know, is one of my symptoms that I keep experiencing. I have these like nerve problems now on the right side. And talking about what I've been inspired to do lately is just like go to the gym. And this has like never been something for me. I was always an athlete when I was younger and everything. But in recent years, I've always just been like doing this and meditating and all this. And I haven't been like as physical. And now I'm just like obsessed. There's like the little quiet obsession in the back of my mind that's like, go to the gym, go to the gym. But for me, usually when this happens, something's going to happen from this.
Yes.
This is not just, okay, yeah, I'm going to get fit in the process, but there's some connection or some sort of, you know, something for me or another individual or something to be learned in the experience. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those.
Well, spirit, whenever spirit whispers, I feel like that is truth. Like we're supposed to follow that whisper because we don't want it to become a shout.
Right.
When it's a shout, it's like, I feel sometimes like we're right on the cusp of being
losing
too
it.
late.
Yes. Yes. That happens sometimes. That actually happened for me when I just heard this little whisper about going to yoga teacher training. Okay. I had never even been to a yoga class at all because I was one of those people that were kind of embarrassed about being in a group when I have never done it before and I didn't know what to do. And I heard this little voice and I knew it wasn't necessarily about yoga teacher training. It was going to be about something bigger. And so I just signed up without having gone to any classes. And and then it turned out to be part of this and all that. So it's always funny when that happens, leading to something bigger.
Yeah, this is going to be guiding you.
It's all parts of the puzzle. Yeah.
And we don't have to see it. I feel like if you saw the whole thing, like,
I'd be like, I'm out. That's it. Sometimes we don't want to see the whole iceberg.
Yeah, because it can be overwhelming.
Yeah. Yep.
This is like a side thing. I don't know why it's coming up right
Well,
now, but I think
we can snip out anything. So.
Okay. But this is like one of my biggest fears is that everything that I'm experiencing, and I actually had this thought while I was on this trip the day after I like felt like I came into this new template. We were walking through the woods and all of a sudden you hear like doof, doof. And I had the thought of like, imagine that was a fucking drum beat and we woke up and you're in ceremony and you're in a different body and they're like, that's your next life. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I just got chills. But that's my biggest fear of like, none of this is real.
Wait,
and I'm
just like walking through a portal?
Yeah.
That's your biggest fear?
Or not necessarily walking through a portal, but being woken up like from a dream. And this has all been a dream. And I'm something else.
But it is though.
Yeah, and if it is a dream, that's like what I came to is like, if it is a dream, I'm creating something so fucking beautiful. Yeah. And like, even if this is just an avatar, and if this is just like a simulation, I'm okay with choices I've made. And I'm like proud of this version of me.
Good, yes, you should be.
But it was just wild. Like also, it was like, I'm like, the ceremony's over. We're going back.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And I like really freaked my husband out too. He's like, that's my biggest fear.
Oh my god.
Okay, so then we're probably together in ceremony somewhere.
Yeah. But I think this about like when we sleep at night, when we dream. For me, I go to like the same places, and so that's why like I'm very pretty sure of this. Like I have like whole other families and. You know, and I go to like the same regions and the same buildings and like towns and everything, and like all the time. And then, you know, then I wake up here and I'm like, okay, now I got to go to work here. Right, I was just like working all night, doing something else all night. It's like, no wonder I'm exhausted. This was something I wanted to mention to you. So one of the things I'm going through with my physical health right now is I'm being woken up, okay? But I'm waking up right around 5:30 in the morning that I can't sleep because I'm experiencing these physical sensations. But what I realized is it's my birth time.
Wow.
Yes, I was born around 5:30. Ooh, I don't know if I should put that out.
Everyone's gonna look into your birth chart. Like, when's her birthday? Where's she born? Wow, that's powerful.
So what is that? What's happening to me? I don't know.
I think like, so when I've listened to or watched rather on YouTube, Dolores Cannon speaking, and she speaks about that two earth splitting, right? And she like tells you like imagine two circles and it's like they're one, but then they start to split. She's like. Literally, it's an old timeline, like old Earth, new Earth. Right? Old timeline, new timeline.
Yeah.
And she talks about that people that knew you in the old timeline are literally just going to think like you died.
Right. In that
timeline. Because it's going to be like, they don't know that version of you.
Right.
And then in the new timeline, like you might have trouble understanding this new you, right?
Yeah.
I feel like some like we're in that splitting right now, and it's weird for us.
Yeah,
like we're aware that we're splitting. We are conscious of these timeline shifts that happen, but it's still abnormal. It's still very like hard for us to integrate. Like, whoa, we're actually become like merging into something totally different.
That's what I feel. It's like I don't necessarily feel the splitting, but I feel the merging of the two coming together. And this makes sense for me on so many levels. So the physical symptoms that I experience it's the whole right side of my body feels like different from the left. Okay. So there's that. And then I have my matrix life, you know, and then I have, you know, this life and everything. So those two versions of self that I feel like are now kind of coming together. Yeah. But to experience it physically, I mean, the masculine and the feminine also feel very separate and then coming together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. I think we're in wild times where
the wild west over here.
Infinite possibility, but also like just these infinite deaths too. Like these inner inner sheddings of
we
like,
don't even know how often we die all the time.
Yeah.
We don't know.
I've actually, very interesting also. So I was on a trip 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, also with my family. And my mom was like, I want to go to these waterfalls. I don't know, remember the name of it. But we were in New York, that's like kind of on the border of Pennsylvania. And if you drive another half hour, you're like in Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the waterfall was. And she's like, it's only an hour away. Like, and then it's same amount of time to go home.
Yeah.
So we're like, perfect, let's do it. Like, we're driving there. I put it in my GPS. My GPS and her, like, I'm using Waze, she's using maps. But we compared, and I'm like, the Waze tells me, you know, different things that I like knowing. So we're going to use that. But both said initially the same roads at one point.
Okay.
So we put in the GPS. We're driving there. I all of a sudden get, like, overcome with this feeling of, like, I need to close my eyes, which I don't usually get, especially while driving. I'm not driving, sorry. I'm passenger.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm just going to close my eyes. Is that okay? They're like, yeah. I'm like, here's the GPS. I didn't touch my phone. Here's the GPS. It's on. It had music playing too. All of a sudden, I'm in the astral space. And I heard like people pulling us out of a car. And that I'm hearing them saying they're all dead.
No.
Like look at her leg. Like, you know, talking about the injuries we had. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, my leg does feel smushed by like metal. Like I just felt like we were like not even whole. And I wake up and I'm obviously like, I'm like, okay, well, no, we're still driving. We're fine. Now I'm like, where the fuck are we? And I'm like looking around and I'm like, we're in Catskills. I'm like, this isn't Pennsylvania or Delaware. Like now we're somewhere totally different. Right. We're like upstate New York.
Yeah.
I'm like, this doesn't make sense for the amount of time that we were traveling. We were already on the road for an hour and a half. Doesn't make sense for where we are. So I look up on the map. The destination still says to go to the waterfalls. But now it's saying it's like 3 hours away. I'm like, we've been driving for an hour. This doesn't make sense.
Okay.
And my husband's like, it never rerouted. Like it's always said these directions. I'm like, this is really weird. We pull over. None of us feel right. We like had to stop and find some piece of land. There was like a sign for a state park. I'm like, let's just go there. I need to touch a tree. Like literally, what's happening to us?
Round down.
We went. We touched a tree, and I shared my experience. Like I really think we just died.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Like, and my mom's like, yeah, obviously, you know, everybody's like, I agree with that because they all felt so different. Like, and it didn't make sense. Like you're looking at information and facts laid in front of you and you're like, this does not make any literal sense. But I think I died in the car accident. It sounds like it. And was just placed somewhere else. And like woke up being like, oh my god. And I'm like, wait, we're okay.
Yeah.
So that was, I've been having some very trippy experiences without, you know, inducing myself in any way. Life is literally a trip at this point.
It is. We have a timeline shift and like going through portal, basically like same thing. And we're doing that all the time, right? So what are some indicators for people that might not know that you have gone through a portal or that you have had a timeline shift? You know, the Matrix the movie, you know, talks about this, you know, if you see like, what was it, the black cat in the movie or something, when you see like a glitch. Right, so if you see a glitch, that's an indicator, like multiple things at once. What's another indicator that you would say?
I would say the physical feeling of like not feeling right. Even though you don't know how to explain that, it was like nausea, headache, like felt like my fingers were like I did not feel right. Like, you know, when you're like, oh, I'm about to have an anxiety attack. I'm about to go to the bathroom. I'm about to throw up. It's like, you know, something's happening. It's like, this is not what I just felt like, and there's nothing causing this.
Yeah.
I think also the synchronicity, like you said, like that glitch you're noticing, because we stopped in a town afterwards and just had like tea, and everybody was like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm like, this is fucking weird. What are they so happy about? Why are they calm? Like, just not, and whatever the town was, it was just like not how normal people reacted. I'm like, these are actors.
Yeah. That's another indicator I would say, is that when the people around you, so when people around you make a big life change all of a sudden, or they are different, even though it's them, that's still a timeline shift for you that you're in. So that's one thing as well. So the surroundings, what else? Even like weather, nature too, like that can induce, or I don't know if that induces it or we're already in it and then that's the result. That's
and you
probably
notice it. Yeah. I think also like new abilities.
That's
like
true.
things that you could never do, like a note that you could never hit, but now you can hit it. Like, things that you've been wanting to do, like that instant manifestation. But yeah, the new abilities I think is interesting. Just even like how something feels, like throwing a ball or getting up out of your seat, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, these happen often.
Yeah.
And I think people aren't aware because they just think like, that's life.
Yeah.
It's like, but is it? You know?
Yeah. And it's just so abrupt. It's so abrupt.
But yeah, these times are wild.
It's wild. Interesting stuff. We covered a lot.
We did.